Hi, this is Ben. And this is another podcast we are recording with another guest, who is Sohrab. And today we want to talk about his experience and journey on entrepreneurship in Netherlands. In the beginning, I want to say thank you, Sohrab, for accepting my invitation, joining me to talk about your experience. In the beginning, it's a good idea to hear more about you, introduce yourself, because we already talked a little bit, but I think you have lots of things to share with us.
Great. Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me. Sohrab, I'm one of the two co-founders of a AI startup here in the Netherlands called Orc.ai. Originally born in Iran 40 years ago already, born in Tehran, and then moved to the Netherlands when I was 5 with my parents and little brother, and grew up here in the Netherlands ever since. A background in computer science, so did my bachelor's in computer science. That was also when I started my first entrepreneurial journey. I was doing my bachelor's, learning a lot on IT, but not applying it really. Right, just reading from the books what it is. So I started building stuff to apply my learnings in a product. Well, that turned out to become a popular product. It was the time before social media and social networks existed, so pre-Facebook, but it was a little social network for events, lifestyle parties here in the Netherlands. They got quite some traction, and we're talking about 2002 now. And quite soon, like 10 months in, one of the bigger media publishers here in Europe reached out to potentially acquire the platform. So that was a first little exit, very little of the company I did. With that, I started a second one. That one was acquired by a group of venture capitalists, by a group of VCs. And then I founded my third one. Meanwhile, I still was finishing my bachelor's degree. And towards the end, when I was finishing my bachelor's degree, the third company, well, we hit the 2008 financial crisis. It was also around that time that the investors in the third company got into some trouble because of all the financial crises. So they were not able to hold their part of giving the money. The company ran out of oxygen, and that was also the first bankruptcy I dealt with. So then I was 23, right? And then maybe a bit fast forward. So after that, I went into different COO, CTO roles of other tech companies, always in technology, SaaS. And because after the bachelor's, I never started my master's, and having an immigrant mom, it cannot be. So I had to do a master's degree. But with all the learnings I had of building and running a company, decided to do an executive MBA to not make the mistakes I did with the bankruptcy, and learn all the tips and tricks of running business, and not just only on the technical and IT side. So I did my executive MBA, and coming out of the executive MBA, multiple consulting firms started reaching out towards the end. So that's when I was headhunted into McKinsey. So immediately coming out of the executive MBA, I started as a tech expert at McKinsey, where I was globally helping different large companies with designing and executing tech transformations. Did that for 2.5, 3 years. But of course, my hands were itching for entrepreneurship and going back into building myself, and not just telling others how to build and the right strategy. So in different types of COO, CTO roles, I ended up meeting my co-founder, Tony, where we got the idea for our current startup that we have, Orc.ai, and we quit our jobs and started building. So that's now 2.5 years in. We're building together. The first 18 months, we were bootstrapping the company. So we were both doing consulting jobs on the side to bootstrap the company. And then 18 months in, because we focused on AI, generative AI specifically, you had this boom happening mid last year around generative AI. And that's when also multiple investors reached out to us. We got in talks, and we were lucky enough to do two rounds of fundraising in 2023. So that we could actually scale up the company. We could focus full time instead of doing the side projects, and to scale our team. So now we're 2.5 years in, team of around 21 team members at the moment, spread across the world, working and building on the generative AI platform.
Great. That was a inspiring story. My question is, when you join to other companies such as McKinsey, you could continue in that space without any headaches in terms of founding your startup. Because at that time you had no idea, okay, maybe there are more opportunities to, for example, according by other entities or any kind of investments or the things like that. Why you decided again to start your journey in entrepreneurship instead of sticking to the previous career path, working with some companies such as McKinsey and enjoy your time, without any
Yeah, I mean, even there it is super hard work, right? So it was not easier. It's still long days, but of course, if you're working on something you really, really love, it just makes the long days easier, right? And instead of working on something you don't really love, then the days just feel really long.
So you didn't love the things you did in McKinsey.
No, because love is a big word, right? So I definitely I liked it. The colleagues were and are amazing. The network, the types of projects, the learnings. It's a crazy amount that you're able to learn, right? So I really became a better professional, better person, better manager with all the learnings. But it was not love, right? So then eventually it starts, yeah, dragging because it becomes repetitive and boring. And also another thing is because I'm really a builder. I really love building. That's why I also went
Nice.
studying computer science. And what you do in strategy consulting, your deliverable is a strategy. But I would love to be able to execute the strategy and see it how it actually will work out. Not like, here's the strategy, I'm going to my next project. So I really love doing and strategy and hands-on building.
Got it.
In this situation, I can actually do both.
So throughout your career, you held multiple roles, as you said, as a CTO, CEO, even you work in different companies such as McKinsey. My question is because, as you know, we are focusing on international students at Benin community to help them to learn transferable skills to navigate their career path. So, my question is, what are some key transferable skills you've developed during this journey that you think it's worth to share with us?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good idea also to share some tips, tricks, or examples as well.
Yeah, so of course, getting older has its negatives, but one good thing is if you by getting older is you have a longer horizon to reflect, right, and to see patterns. Sometimes in your 20s, early 30s, you're so too deep in the valley or in the thing that you don't have the perspective yet to reflect. Now I start doing that, right, and start seeing patterns over 20 years of working. One of the good things of getting older, right, almost 40 next month, is you have time, you can reflect. The horizon is long enough to reflect and zoom out to see trends over the 20 years that I've been working now. Instead of, what did I learn the last 3 months? Some learnings are 4 or 5 year periods of learning. And multiple things that I wish someone I had telling me when I was 17, 18, but I only learned when I was 35. Partly, of course, you come from an immigrant background, right? So it's not that my parents and knew people and could provide some of the mentorship on the professional side that would be useful. They did a lot of amazing other stuff, of course, and one thing I'm really trying to help my younger colleagues in the team, right? We have quite a young team, around between 25 and 29. So I'm trying to infuse it already in them to save them the learnings. Some transversal skills that are also timeless is storytelling. It's a very vague concept if someone doesn't know what you mean, right? As long as it's an unknown for a person, they think you're just floating, like, what do you mean by storytelling? But the ability to translate complex concepts into easier stories is a skill. In life, you have two types of people, right? You have complexifiers and you have simplifiers. Unfortunately, the world is filled with complexifiers. It's very easy to make things very complex, right? Then you look very busy and you can say, oh, I'm working so hard. Unfortunately, that happens in most companies and most people. You want to be a simplifier, right, in your life and in your career, which is actually harder, right? For Apple to create a very simple smartphone was a lot of hard work. It was not easy. it was very easy to create a very complex phone, right? And that's what you want to be in life, is you want to be a simplifier. A lot of times that also with good storytelling, the ability to convey your message to different types of audiences in an understandable way. So knowing, okay, I'm talking to engineers, it's a different type of storyline than to product people. It's a different storyline than to the C-level. Everyone needs their own tailored storyline, even though the goal for you is the same, but you need to mobilize people in a different way to get to the execution that you want, right? So this is like one of the things really was ingrained at McKinsey on the storytelling skills, and highly undervalued, but it's a timeless type of skill, right? It won't get redundant anytime soon, right? A lot of other skills will, like working with Excel is not going to be around for the next 40 years, but being able to be a good storyteller is going to be around for the next 40 years. Another one is the structured problem solving. So the ability to, again, very complex problem, break it down into simpler pieces and organize, structure the solutioning of it. Of course, it helps to have a computer science mind, because that's what you do with computer science all day. But this is also, again, a very transversal skill to be able to do. Now, if you combine complex problem solving with storytelling, right, those are two very complementary skills that set you up for the rest of your career. I wish someone told me and taught me when I was 18, and not when I was, learning it between my 29 and 39. But yeah, that was something I would give back.
Right. And in terms of the things you mentioned, I think during your journey, you faced with lots of challenges in your career path in different roles. And definitely you acquired, you utilized this kind of stuff to tackle those kind of stuff. And my question is, if you want to share 2 main challenges during your study at universities, and you think the educational system, I don't know, your courses, the things like that, helped you to learn more how to handle these kind of things. Could you please share some examples as well? Because, most of the students at universities are learning hard skills. But in terms of softer skills and transferable skills, it seems sometimes universities are not focusing a lot to help them to learn these kind of things. But at the same time, also students, in this case, international students, are not trying to find some ways to learn, to practice, to acquire, to gain these kind of soft/transferable skills. And it seems the things you shared with us was the things you tried to learn in different situations by yourself. What is the role of universities and educational system in these kind of things, as well as how students and international students can find some solutions for practice?
Good question. It's actually, I don't know if it is something that can be solved in a university. I mean, I'm just now thinking about it, so it's not that I've theorized about it for a couple of years. But the thing is, the real power in these skills is like a continuous feedback cycle between theory and applying it in practice. That's what I had when I was doing my bachelor's in computer science. My minor was business, but I was 19. I'm reading all these business theory. Yeah, I understand the words that are stated there, but you don't know what it is until you've actually, bumped your head, had a bloody nose, and then you see the theory, and then it clicks all of a sudden. So when I went back and did my executive MBA, some of the things was, of course, overlapping with my minor a couple of years before, but it was so different because only when you apply it in practice, especially these soft skills, right? If you're just, as a 22-year-old student, you read it, you're like, okay, makes sense, right? I understand the words and I can regurgitate them during a test to get my grade. But the actual application, to truly master it, right? So it feels natural. It doesn't feel fake. It's not like you're going through a script, but it's part of your muscle memory. It does require, I think, the exposure to real practice, right? So some of these things you can only master by applying it in practice, hurting your head, getting a bloody nose, having some conflict, reflecting, and then improving it the next time until it really becomes your style. You cannot just read about someone else's style and then apply it. So I think that's on the soft skills. I don't know if that helps. Well, how much universities can do. I remember back in our MBA, we had a lot of leadership courses. So focus on EQ and leadership skills. But again, if you don't go out and actually apply it, so if you don't have a team to manage and an organizational problem to fix, it's really hard to just know the theory. It helps to have the theory, so I need to go back and read it when the problem occurs. But in the courses, what does help is topics like organization psychology, understanding incentives, incentive schemes, performance management has a lot of hard skills, but it's all linked to human EQ, empathy, what drives humans in their day-to-days, in their lives, in their careers. So you are able to predict sometimes outcomes because you understand human psychology and organizational psychology.
Which means, what I understand, you advise trying mix the things based on theories. I mean, learning at universities based on theories with learning by doing in the actual world, which means, for example, students can do something as a volunteer or the things like that.
Right? Internships, right? Because then you understand what it means to have a grumpy boss, what it means to be in a fast-moving organization. Right? Internships helps a lot. Side jobs, right? But even team projects, right? Because, for example, in our MBA, we only had in 2 years, only one exam, right? Where you study, go and do the exam. Everything else was group assignments. Every 4 or 5 months, we were shuffled around in different teams. We had 50 nationalities, right? So cross-cultural collaboration is also a challenge for, such a connected world as now. So how do I work with my Indian, Russian, and Iranian classmates, right? Everyone has levels of ego, the cultural habits, the way of giving feedback, how direct or indirect are we? Well, we're both Iranians. We know there's a whole different way of communicating with a real Iranian than with a Dutch person, right? That is already one way that it helps, but then it needs to be structured so people understand, I'm learning. This is part of the learning. It's not just to get the assignment done and get a grade, but just having friction in the team is part of the blended learning, right? And as you get older, people have different preferences for learning, which is called then the adult learning, and a blended learning is the combination of practice and theory. Is different than high school times.
Exactly, and being international students is a big chance for those people because, they already had a chance to collaborate with different people with different backgrounds, coming from different cultures, nationalities, and things like that. Because it seems, for example, I have no idea, but for example, in your startup at Org.ai, you are working with different people with different backgrounds from different nationalities, which means it's kind of practice for international students at universities based on the things you mentioned to try to learn some practical skills for anchoring, for using in their future, I don't know, future career paths or future roles or the things like that. So back to your startup, Org.ai. Of course, AI is a trend these days, but for now, I don't want to talk about that specific topic. I just want to know more, if you want to share, about some main challenges you faced when you were starting Org.ai from the beginning till now, and how have you tried to cope with these kind of challenges? Because the point is, international students, in some cases, thinking about founding their startup or following their passion by building their business. Maybe your story can help them to think in a clear way how to develop their skills and, plan for their future as well.
I mean, the thing is with a startup, it's a back-to-back of challenges and problems, especially in a fast-moving field as we're in, right? You literally have not a second to catch your breath. So you're always on, and there's always the next big challenge to face. But is the breadth of different problem of the tweaks you need to do just to get the whole machine running, right? So you're building the machine that needs to output a product. At the same time, you want to improve the machine while you try to fly, and you want to repair the machine in flight. So it's you always have to pick your battles, and of the 99 problems that you have, which ones are you gonna address? Or else it's not sustainable, right? You'll burn out in the first couple of months thinking you can control everything. So because of the experience that both my co-founder and I have, you just prevent a lot of problems that maybe in a younger person would make or they won't make. But so sometimes I don't even know which challenges I prevented by having some of the experiences, right? On hiring the people, firing the people in the team, right? That's just as important in the fast-moving startup when to let people go. People management, which is actually not one of our biggest challenges. We have an amazing team, but with the learnings of the last 20 years that build the foundations to be able to identify that. One thing I think younger startups and even ourselves do wrong is thinking, this next person is kind of the prophet that's gonna save us. Whether it's on tech, sometimes on sales, right? There's kind of the false prophet type of way. And as a founder, you're sometimes so desperate to fill a specific capability gap in the organization. In our case, that was like sales, that you're like, oh, this guy will be our sales guru, and that transform. But then they turn out to be false prophets. But maybe your expectations were wrong to begin with, right? The buck always stops with you as a founder. So it's always your fault anyway. You cannot blame those people. You made the decision. But I think, in early stages, you're so eager to find your complementary counterpart for the gap that you have that you sometimes maybe put too much trust and believe in the next person you hire, giving them sometimes maybe too much salary, too much equity, and that will actually get you in a messy situation, right? Because then the breakup is very painful and ugly. So that, fortunately, we didn't have because of all the ugly lessons I did learn. But I sometimes see it with non-technical founders when they're looking for their technical counterpart. I was super lucky that, Tony, my co-founder, is, technically a genius. So that was not our problem. I also have a technical background, so that helps. But on the sales and marketing side, that was not our biggest strength. So then you're looking for a person there. But my advice is to non-technical founders is to be very careful when hiring technical founders or people that want the title, or the late co-founders, right? They all give these sexy names to make someone feel as if they're part of it. But that person is not really carrying their weights and becomes a weight on the company. Just make sure that it's also, the breakup is not ugly and painful for you.
That was my question. You already answered, because as I checked your profile and your co-founder's profile, both of you are a tech guy.
Yeah.
Which means sometimes in founding any new entity, you need to, do the things in a different way, in different roles: sales, marketing, technical stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes even writing content, social marketing, the things like that. Yeah, everything.
Updating the icons on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my question. How did you handle? In the beginning, you answered a little bit. You tried to acquire or find some people, right? You tried to find some people to do the things you are not good enough in, those kind of stuff.
I mean, it was so at the beginning, we when we didn't have funding, right? We knew this is the team, right? So it was Tony, myself, and we had one other colleague joining us from the previous company, Christy. She's still with us. Amazing team mates to have. So we knew that there's no room to hire people, right? So it meant, well, Tony was definitely covering technology. Together we were doing product, and I was doing finance, marketing, sales. Go out to the world and tell our story, right? And hit the drums. But we knew the moment, right? The product was becoming mature. We got the funding. We were scaling. Then like, okay, how do we gonna address sales, right? For me, it's also not a native capability on the sales side. I'm comfortable in consultative selling, right? Because I understand the client side a lot with all the consulting background, etc. But just the hardcore sales, right? Cold calling, getting rejections, getting no's, all the painful part of sales was
Really
not
painful.
something I've experienced, right? And then you hope that someone else is there to cover that. And then it turns out, nope, I still need to myself go through that painful learning curve as well. Like also, how can I take myself seriously as a founder if I'm not able to do the first couple of million of sales, right? So then it's you wipe the blood off your nose and then go at it again, and then things then become better. And now slowly we have, both on sales and marketing, people that are better than I am at those skills, right? So then it turns into people management, but not so much the day-to-day operations.
Right, right. And the point is now, now you are a co-founder of Org.ai, but my question is, are you the CEO as well, or?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't like to take that title, right? So we don't have a CEO. We have two co-founders, but yeah,
So if still it's co-CEO, or you don't have any kind of this kind of roles in
we're
your.
too small to start throwing with those titles, right? Well, also one thing I learned, right? It's this is just I think fake stuff of throwing around these titles. You're 20 person organization. Let's just build, right? Instead of people focusing on that. So that's where we don't have VPs, heads of, right? Sometimes we have interviews with candidates and they start already. The second question is, what's the title? That we already know you're not a good fit for us, right? We don't care about those things. Right? Like it literally never crosses my mind on what's the title. Can we just build, right? Let's just build stuff and sell stuff and build amazing products, and then those funny things will come afterwards. But yeah,
What you think it's about future, not now.
yeah.
Right.
Again, like yeah, well, you're saying I'm the CEO of a 3-person company, 4-person company. Sure, I mean, not judging other people that do, but for me, it feels a bit silly.
So let's talk a little bit more about some industry insights and future trends. What I mean is the future of AI in business. And my question is, how do you see the role of generative AI? Because now you are focusing on this field, generative AI,
Yeah.
at Org.ai. How do you see the role of generative AI in the business world? And what skills should international students develop to stay relevant in this field, and how they can find some solutions or some ways to design their career paths, because it seems lots of things will change in the future. The way we are living, we are working, we are collaborating, everything, even the way of learning, everything will change.
Mhm.
What do you advise, or what would you like to advise to international
Yeah.
students?
Yeah. So just like there is not a profit that will come and save your company as a person, as previous block we were discussing, there's also not one technology that will then all of a sudden make your company change, right? Generative AI is a subpart of AI in general, right? And estimations even from the experts is around 60% of AI use cases will still be classical machine learning, between brackets, traditional ML. Around 40% is generative AI, right? Will be generative AI. It's not at 40% yet, of course, because everyone is still just trying to start with it. But it does, of course, open up a lot of value in an organization. One is, of course, here in the West, in Europe, the population is getting older, right? So huge shortages of people. Either the hands that are needed to keep the economy feeded, to pay the pensions for the people that will retire. It's either we get more people, immigrants in Europe, or you are able to automate work, right? So you need less people to begin with. So first of all, I don't think there is a risk for people being replaced by AI. It's actually we don't have enough people, so we need to automate our processes and ways of working. There's so much what is called bullshit jobs, right? That even the people doing the jobs don't really like, that can be automated. So those people can focus on the important stuff, right? Relationships, empathy, those things that you cannot automate easily. Those people can focus on that. So in an organization, we see multiple places that generative AI helps. One is to improve internal processes. It's very laborious, boring jobs. A lot of organizations are still like documents moving from one department to the other, going into a file. Someone else reads the file, sends it to the next. Because it's just moving around a lot of structured and unstructured data, well, that's what generative AI is perfect for. So infusing existing processes with generative AI will open up a lot of value. Second is customer-facing products being infused by generative AI. So you have faster responses to your customer. Your support improves. People become more self-reliant, so they don't need to have someone on the phone all the time. So this is customer-facing for an organization. It's also riskier because it's customer-facing, so you have less room to mess up and screw up. And then finally is what the holy grail is finding actually new business models, because we have as a company a special type of knowledge, special type of data. And with generative AI, we can actually build new business units and have new business revenues actually coming in. That's the holy grail. But you need to go through these maturity levels to get there. You're not going to jump immediately to business model innovation without having started learning first, doing stuff internally. And that's also what we help organizations with, right? Is having the tools so they can go through these maturity levels. Coming back to the students this is just like coming out of university. You need to know how to use Microsoft Word. You need to know how to use Excel up to a certain level. You need to know how to build a presentation and present it. I believe, being able to work with generative AI models is part of that new skill set, right? So you are super relevant. You're able to automate some of your own boring work, but you're able to think in the new way of, hey, why is this process like it is? I think by infusing it here and here with Gen AI, it will improve. So you don't have to actually be the AI engineer yourself. Of course, that will help, but just being able to connect the technology to solutions, right? Problem solving, being able to mobilize your organization to actually start doing it, that's where a lot of value will be. Because what we see from the vendor side, right? So we provide the technology, but clients have difficulty even coming up with the ideas, right? So being even able to, we sometimes need to inspire them, do inspiration sessions. We have partners that do inspiration and creative sessions with them because they're not able yet to connect the new technology to their organization, and they need inspiration for that. Well, if you coming in as with fresh ideas, a fresh mind, that's a good thing of students coming fresh into an organization. They bring these new ideas. Well, then you will make a difference, and you're able to grow much faster.
Thank you. Before we finish our interview, I have some few questions, simple and easy questions.
Quick fire,
yeah. First of all, what's the most important advice you would like to share with the international students who are trying to build their career and you think we haven't talked so far?
And just to understand the question, to answer it better, is international students that want to move around internationally, or no matter where they are, even if they are in their own country?
No matter. Maybe they are international students in the Netherlands coming back to their country and they want to build their career path. Anyway, they already had kind of international experience.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they want to do something in their own country. But they have that mindset as international citizenship, global citizenship.
Yeah. And also I think while you're away and focusing on being able to work with different cultures, so cross-cultural communication, cross-cultural collaboration, if you really focus on that and try to master it, well, then it's super valuable moving back, because almost all, developed countries that have multinational populations, right? So everywhere you are, you will be surrounded by other ambitious international people, right? Whether they are visiting or is they actually their home country, but being able to navigate the different cultures is a super valuable skill.
Are there any books, podcasts, or resources that have helped you in your career that you would like to suggest to our listeners as international students?
Oh, good question. Haven't read a good book for a while, to be honest. But I think the one that comes quickly to mind, because it's so broad, but also distills the human motivators and drivers, is *Sapiens* by Hariri. Simply because it builds up why we as sapiens organize in groups, why we organize in tribes, what's the power and the value of tribes, but what's also the downside of too close communities and tribes, right? That also, just shows that a lot of it is just in our DNA and instinct. And by turning that unknown into a known, you're able to navigate it. You're able to connect it to incentives, to why people behave the way they do, links into organization, psychology, and collaboration and team management. So for me, that one always, I reflect back to that theory out of that book, on why people do what they do, why religion is, what's also we as humans that are able to develop a vision for a future has pros and cons, right? One of the pros is we're able to envision things that we haven't built yet, and then we go out and build them, right? So for me, that always connects to the human behaviors as well.
Good advice. And any other podcast or TV series or the things like that, or something for that?
Oh, if I had time to prepare on this one, I would probably have better. But I think Succession is a really good one. Deals so much with the business world. Of course, it's a bit dramatized, but on how it actually can go into big companies behind the scenes, what toxic behaviors are, toxic leaders look like, what not to do. So that one pops to mind. I have a recent one that I really enjoyed. Good quality show. Podcasts, Lex Friedman, good for long form. But yeah, for myself, I'm just super curious also always about geopolitics, right? And the big chess games in the world. So I listen to a lot of geopolitical podcasts, maybe less relevant, but that's my personal interest.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing those great advice. So just let us know at the end how to stay in touch. I mean, for those who want to follow your journey or learn more about your work, what's the best way to connect with you? I mean, I know they can follow, for example, different social media channels of org.ai, but maybe you have some more.
No, actually, that most of it is on LinkedIn, right? So either my personal profile on LinkedIn or our company profile. I do try to make it personal. So my personal LinkedIn is more of a personal touch than just talking about Org AI. But yeah, that's the place I hang out most of the time.
Yeah, and I think if they are searching your name, they can easily find you on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a couple of Sohrab Hosseinis in the world, but if you put Org behind it, it should be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Sohrab, for sharing your story, and that was interesting and that was insightful. I enjoyed a lot. I tried to ask the main questions I had, but maybe at the end you want to say something, and after that we can say goodbye to our listeners. Anything else at the end, the last moment?
I think something with time, right? So if you're in your 20s, early 30s, and it feels like time goes so fast, but there is still time, right? So I think sometimes you should use time also as a friend, and things will settle down. In the heat of the moment, things are not as bad as they are, but also in the moment that things are good, those times will also be over. So know that one thing that does keep ticking is time, for better or worse.
Great. This episode is the fourth one of Benny Community Podcast. It will be available on different platforms, and we are trying to share some points, some summaries and things like that on different social media channels of Benny Community. At the end, once again, I wanted to say thank you to you. That was interesting and insightful and helpful. I'm sure we will see and hear more from you in the future.
My pleasure.
And yeah, let's see what is the next step.